Today's read aloud is called Four Seasons in One Year. Do you know why many plants grow more rapidly during the summer, or more slowly, or not at all during the winter? Do you know why some animals migrate, whereas other animals hibernate in the winter? Only certain parts of our planet have four different seasons. This is because of the shape and the tilt of the Earth. The area around the equator receives the greatest amount of direct, intense, strong sunlight. This region of the Earth is called the tropical region. Repeat that with me. Tropical region. That's because it is almost always hot and humid. The North and South poles receive the least amount of direct sunlight. They are called polar regions. Repeat that with me, please. Polar regions. Generally, they remain cold and dry. In recent years, however, the Earth's overall climate has changed a little bit and has become a little bit warmer. These polar areas seem to be warming up a little too, and some of the ice caps in this area have been melting. The region or area between the poles and the equator, that's called the temperate region. Repeat that with me. Temperate region. In this region of the world where we live, most places experience all four seasons in a year. Remember, during this time of year, when the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, the northern hemisphere receives the most daylight and the most intense sunlight. This means it's summertime in the northern hemisphere. At the same time, the southern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun. So it would be winter there. As the Earth revolves around the sun, the axis is tilted. And that's what causes the seasons to change. Now let's discover a little bit more about each season. As each year passes in the temperate region of the world, changes occur in the weather. These weather cycles have been divided up into what we call seasons. Each season brings with it incredible changes in the world around us. This picture shows the forest in spring. In spring, daylight hours increase and the sun becomes much stronger. The warmer weather causes more rain to fall. With increased light, warmth, and rain, plants begin to grow. Seeds that have been resting in the soil take root. The warmth of the sun and the rainfall enables the seeds to germinate or begin to grow into plants. Have you ever heard the saying, April showers bring May flowers? New plants emerge, and plants that have been inactive for the winter become active again and start growing. On branches, buds form leaves. Water is absorbed or taken in by the plant as it travels up the stem to the leaves. Plants use water and sunlight to make their own food, as well as oxygen for us to breathe. This process is called photosynthesis. Repeat that with me, please. Photosynthesis. It is during this time that this great burst of life and energy occurs. Springtime also sees the return of many animals that have migrated or moved to warmer places during the winter time. It is also the time when some animals wake up from their winter hibernation. Spring is when many animals give birth to their young. Animals give birth either by bearing live young or by laying eggs. Animals that give birth to live young have nourished their young inside their bodies. Animals that hatch from eggs have been nourished from a yolk within the egg. Because the northern hemisphere receives more intense sunlight from the sun at a more direct angle in the summer, temperatures are usually their highest during these months. With increases of light and heat, plants begin to grow strong. Young animals that were born also grow strong during this fruitful time of the year. As the earth revolves, summer turns into autumn, and the temperature and the environment begin to change again. In autumn, while it is still warm, light from the sun is not as intense or strong, and the growth and development of plants and animals begins to slow down. In many places in the northern hemisphere, autumn is the time to harvest crops. Grass crops are harvested, grapes are picked from vines, and fruits such as apples and pears and pumpkins are ready to be picked and eaten. As the amount of daylight lessens, the temperature continues to drop. The leaves on many trees change color. During this time in the northern hemisphere, it becomes a world of copper and bronze and red and orange leaves. Leaves change color in autumn because trees receive less sunshine than they need to produce food. And this is when photosynthesis stops. When photosynthesis stops, the leaves begin to die off. So the leaves on the deciduous trees die and drop off. When winter arrives, it means this part of the earth is now tilted away from the sun, and temperature and sunlight are at a minimum. Minimum is the smallest amount possible. It also means that summer has arrived in the southern hemisphere. Because conditions are less favorable for growth and development slows down and even stops in plants. In winter, the deciduous trees rely on the food that they have stored to make energy. This food supply is stored in their roots. During winter, deciduous trees, as well as many other plants, go into a dormant state. In winter, some animals whose food source is affected by the changes in climate migrate or leave for warmer places. These animals sense the change in the daylight and the temperature and begin their annual migration. Migration is part of a yearly cycle of changes. Some birds, for example, travel long distances to their winter homes. They prepare for migration by eating lots of food and storing up as much energy as they can to make their journey. Mammals such as caribou or elk migrate across vast expanses of land, and even fish migrate in the winter in search of warmth and food. Like plants that lay dormant in the winter, some animals hibernate. Hibernation is a deep kind of sleep. Like the deciduous trees, animals that rely on food, animals have to rely on food that they have stored in their bodies to get through the winter months. There are also animals that stay in their natural habitat through the colder months and survive the best they can. These are animals like fox, deer, and rabbits, and they search for food on frozen land. Some build snug homes to help keep out of the cold. They have learned to adapt or adjust to their ever-changing environment. People adapt too. They prepare for cold winter months by wearing warmer clothes and even changing the foods that they eat. How does your family get ready for autumn and winter? We are all part of this never-ending cycle. When spring returns, the cycle of growth will begin all over again, and new life will appear on the earth.